Hi, and welcome to Black Heroes, presented by AT&T Dream in Black. What's up, everybody? I'm Shannon Cross, Senior PR Marketing Specialist, podcaster, and host of Black Heroes here on HBCU Digital Network. Our Black hero today is Torrence Reed, y'all. He is a venture capitalist, CEO of his own cybersecurity company, and the co-founder of HBCU Wall Street. Torrence, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Listen.
Schedules aligned and we finally made it. For
sure. Also, that was a mouthful getting out all your titles, man. I mean, can we consolidate that? Like
Well, I would call myself a builder of things that help people help themselves. If you had to put that in one line.
I like that. Yeah. Put that in your Twitter bio, right?
Okay. Yep.
So we got to start with, which HBCU did you attend?
The number one HBCU in the country, North Carolina A&T State University.
Oh, man.
What other one would I have went to?
We got another Aggie on the show. I got to talk to the organizers, man. I don't know who's booking for this show, but we got a lot of Aggies on here.
I mean, we're everywhere. No,
y'all are representing.
Yeah, Aggies do, right? Like that's our motto. I think is ingrained in how we operate during school and post graduation.
It shows y'all are really doing it big. If we have enough Black heroes on this show from A&T, it's got to be something special. So what is it?
I think there was a heavy spirit of entrepreneurship that just ran rampant through the campus, right?
Okay.
Like even some of the individuals that I graduated with that had businesses while we were in college, they still run those businesses and they've never worked a 9-to-5 per se, right? So just the idea of turning your side hustle into something, because there's hundreds of thousands of potential customers and testers around you, right? It's no reason to not try to do something.
So what would you say, NC A&T, what was it about A&T that really contributed to your current success?
A&T taught me, I would say college taught me two things. One was how to make money and the other one was how to make lifelong connections.
Okay.
Right. I was talking to a mentee of mine earlier and I let him know that, being able to call someone to push something along and get further faster than you would going the normal route as everyone else, right? Like that's the name of the game in this world.
Facts.
Right. So what it taught me and what you probably see is that our alumni network is far reaching and it's heavy and it's solid. Right. It allowed me to just move through life easier, like literally.
So what was your major while you were at A&T?
So I started as an electrical engineer, right?
Okay.
Because at that time, A&T produced the most electrical engineers on the East Coast, right? Like I didn't even apply to anywhere else. I only applied to North Carolina A&T, right?
Okay.
I get to school and I'm like, I think I probably want a little bit more business acumen. So I switched my major to MIS. And so that's management information systems, right? I've always been a techie, a builder, a tinkerer, right? And so that just made sense for me to have an information systems major.
Okay. And so now we fast forward to you being the founder of Cybershield Security. How did you get into that?
So, working as an IT contractor for about a decade and a half, a lot of the work that I did was rooted in security for the government. Okay. Right. And so, one day I decided, hey, I want to turn my 9-to-5, I want to treat it as an internship for me being, a full-time entrepreneur. And so, I slowly did a catalog of the things I was good at and cybersecurity was at the top. Right. And me being a founder, having started several startups, while working, a 9-to-5, it just made sense to run full steam ahead with cybersecurity once I was a full-time entrepreneur.
Where did that hunger come from? Because a lot of folks, there's nothing wrong with just having a 9-to-5, but you've got to have like an intense hunger inside you to want to start, as you said, multiple startups.
Right. I think it's ingrained in you. Like I don't think entrepreneurship can be taught, right? Like side hustling can be taught. Understanding how your contribution to a larger economic circle that involves entrepreneurship and small business, right? Like everyone can play a part in that, because
Right.
everyone may not want to start a business, but everyone might have some dollars to spend, right? So just knowing that, that was the liberation point for me. It was going to be how I was able to move freely. It was going to be how I was able to be my kids' bank and not have to tell them no if they ever asked me for something, right? Like, I think rooted in a lot of the grit and hunger for me is ultimately literally just me being at a point where no one can ever hire or fire my kids. Yeah.
And so with Cybershield security, how did you get started with it?
So I'm a software developer, or former software developer, kind of a little bit still, however you want to put it, right? In building things for people, once I would finish, I didn't want to hand it over to them in an unsecure manner,
Okay.
right? And so the checklists and the processes of securing it for them just kind of morphed into what you see now as Cybershield security. Yep.
Got you. Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit to, you are also the co-founder of HBCU Wall Street. I like how that sounds. Tell me what that's all about.
I love it. So most startups are founded because the one of the co-founders or founders has a problem, right? And so my co-founder and I, Jamaris Payton, we actually were entrepreneurs in college. We were always finding ways to quote unquote get some money, right? And one, there was no structure. There were no entrepreneur networks. There was no community. You couldn't say college student and the word entrepreneurship in the same sentence and it'd be taken serious.
Right.
So that was first. The second thing was we came from, which 85% of HBCU students came from lower income communities or households where generationally finance is not a sexy topic and it's not talked about. And so when you put those two together and you understand that if you don't understand finances, you only have an expensive hobby and not a business. Ooh, right?
Yeah.
And so starting with where we had the most resources at, which was HBCUs, right? We wanted to cut time in half for people and say, let's not have them blow money in college. Let's not have them wait until their 30s to start acquiring wealth, right? Like, there's mechanisms and ways to do it as a college student. Okay. And so we just got tired of the talking, and we wanted practicality. So anything we preach and teach on our platforms, we actually offer practical methodologies to do. If we're screaming real estate, we have properties you can invest with us in, right? If we're screaming, franchises, we have entities that you can start a franchise for. And so for us, it just became sharing our life in real time, right? Just trying to get our money together, trying to make sure we get our real estate together, trying to make sure we understand equity and ownership, and then just pushing that to college students in a more intentional manner at a younger age. Because let's face it, in the economy we live in and the setup we live in, you're supposed to start getting your life together once you hit 30, right? Right. Okay, let me really get serious about my credit. Let me really look into buying a house, right? Like, you would be so much further along if someone intentionally made you think about those things at 18, right? And so that was how HBCU Wall Street came about. And we just love everything that is our culture, which is the HBCU culture. We just fuse it together, right?
I love that. So you talk about building community, but you guys, do you offer programs and things like that as well?
Right. So we have an online community, right? An actual Facebook type of community, right? And there's individuals in the community that are 18, and there's some individuals that are 58, and they all talk. They're all on the same plane. They share, and that brings down the walls of financial conversation being not talked about. We have in-person live events. We actually have books and guides and manuals. We have ourselves. We've always been an open book, answering individuals' questions, our entire team members, right? However people want help, we have a mechanism to get it to them that way.
You seem so wise beyond your years. Who's poured into you? Like, I'm trying to know, you're the cup, like, who's just pouring into you?
That's a great question. My community, my people, right? Like the people who DM us and the people who email us and say, hey, this is helping, or hey, your page has changed my life, or hey, now I can release my payroll because you scan my servers, right? Like we've always figured out a way to embed ourselves into people's real lives. And so I think what we do is purposely make sure whatever we receive back, we internalize it and then amplify it and kick it back out, right? So to be honest, I don't have an older mentor, right? Like most people have a mentor that's, X amount of years older than them. I think I just pay attention to everything. Everyone I've ever talked to about anything, any facet of life, any way that it could affect the human race, Black people, what have you, right? Whether it's technology or finance or humanities or science, I can ingest a lot and then synthesize it back all out. So I think I just pay attention to everything. I think that would be the short answer.
No, I like that. I mean, being aware, you're aware of your surroundings and also self-aware. I think that's huge. So what advice would you have for folks, trying to get into potentially being a venture capitalist or even, cybersecurity?
The cliche, do what you love, right? Okay. But I think there's a way to find that intersection, right? Because you have to have skill sets, passion, and desire, right? You got to take your skill sets. In this instance, I'll go with myself. My skill sets are technology, right? Like my passions are making sure that the African-American community understands that you can be wealthy, you can be rich, you can desire more, right? And that's the first part of it, is thinking that way. And then the third aspect of that is the desire. I desire to build things that help people help themselves. So I'll probably always be doing something I love. You got to find the intersection, right? What are you good at? What do you love? And what were you put on this earth to do? Okay. Right? We can find an intersection of all three of them. It won't be a startup. It won't be a job. It won't be a project. It will literally be your calling, just wrapped up in Instagram and websites, right?
Yeah. Well, so we were just talking about you being a venture capitalist. And when I hear that, I automatically think Shark Tank. I think a lot of people do. I too would like to be a venture capitalist, but like, how do you even start to do that? Like,
well, I think you took the first step, right? That is to say out loud to yourself that you want to do it, right? And I do know that one thing in venture capital, right? Like the barriers to entry of it are changing, right? Historically, it was PWI graduated financiers and those in asset management and working on Wall Street, right? Like I think the entrepreneur and venture capital world has become more open to anyone taking their story and what they want to give to the world and figuring out how they deploy capital to startups in that manner. Okay. Right. Yep. I mean, you can be an artist, you could be an accountant, you could be a painter, right? Like it doesn't matter. You could find a lane to fit into in today's venture capital landscape.
So if someone was interested in finding and connecting with a venture capitalist for their business or nonprofit, what's the best way to go about pitching that?
Well, the best way would be to start with scouring the internet, right? VC firms and venture capitalists and angel investors, which is someone who invests their own money, they usually invest in a niche or a subset or an industry, right? So if you have a product that purifies air, right, you're probably not going to be searching for individuals who invest in sports startups, right? HBCU VC is actually an organization that I'm a part of. They're doing a really amazing job of introducing the next wave of venture capitalists to venture capital. So yes.
That's really cool. And where can people find out more information about that?
At their website, I think it's just http hbcu.vc.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So I heard the streets said, and by the streets, I mean Twitter, that you made a bold prediction recently. And you got to tell the people about this because this is crazy.
Right. So I think maybe last March 2020,
Okay.
I started just analyzing the landscape, and I saw, well, first a couple of months before that, one of these companies bought up Minecraft, right, for asinine amount of money, right? And so I said to myself, the simulation world is about to get real heavy, right? And so I put up a tweet that said Facebook is going to accelerate building their virtual world, so the new norm can be being with people when you're not there, right? So of course, in my true techie fashion, I retweeted it the morning that they released that's exactly what they were doing.
Wow.
Right?
With Meta.
So, right, it's called Meta, right? And that's the next wave, right? Zoom is the first set of that next wave, right? Like eventually it's going to be holograms and virtual reality, and we'll be having this meeting, but I'll feel like I'm sitting there with you, but I'll be at home.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Interesting.
It's a lot.
I think it's cool you made that tweet during the pandemic. You said March 2020?
Right. Well, okay, so everyone was in the house, and the world and the economy is predicated on the fact that people have daily interactions physically, right? And so the powers that be, the internet, the economy, everyone has got to find a way to monetize the fact that from a health standpoint and a physical standpoint, people aren't going to want to be together as much, right? Some people might want to go to the club now and be sitting on their couch with a headset on. Right. Like that's a real world we're going towards. Whether it be good or bad is another conversation. But I saw that was going to accelerate the moment they locked us down. Everybody's in the house now. Right. So yeah, being an entrepreneur, you kind of have to have that eagle eye to see things a little bit ahead of most people.
That's so dope. I don't know if hologram Cross needs to be in the club any more than the real Shannon Cross needs to be in the club right now, but
Nice.
So where can people find out more about what you're doing, in the months and years ahead?
So you can just visit my website, which is just torrencereed.com.
Okay.
Twitter and Instagram, which is at torrencereed3, the number 3 at the end. And on my website, if you need to get in touch with me, there's a button to shoot me a message.
I love that. It's been great talking to you, Torrence. We want more predictions. We're going to have you back on.
I would love to be on. Thank you again for the invite. Really enjoyed the conversation.
For sure.
Inspired? You should be. AT&T has continued their commitment to HBCUs with the launch of AT&T Dream in Black Rising Future Makers. Connect with the inaugural class of 25 HBCU students and watch them rise at att.com/dreaminblack.